Everyone, family, welcome back to another episode of Chicken and Rice. We got a good one for y'all today, okay? We are going to jump right in and talk about feminism. This is something that Sawan has been wanting to talk about for a long time. And I just said that's Sawan. I'm Pretty Boy Sean. And we are about to go. Don't be rolling your eyes. We're about to jump straight into feminism, our subject feminism. My intro is over. Sawan, take over.
Okay, well, let's start with a definition. We'll go with the Oxford definition. It says it's the advocacy of women's rights on the basis of the equality of the sexes. And then we can move on to Wikipedia has some things on here, but of particular interest to me, it had originating in the late 18th century Europe. Feminist movements have campaigned and continue to campaign for women's rights, including the right to vote, run for public office, work, earn equal pay, own property, receive education, enter contracts, have equal rights within marriage, and maternity leave. Feminists have also worked to ensure access to contraception, legal abortions, and social integration, and to protect women and girls from sexual assault, sexual harassment, and domestic violence. Changes in female dress standards and acceptable physical activities for females have also been part of feminist movements. So I don't even know where to start. Is there a question that you have for me, or you want me to just, where do you want me to start? Because I've done some research.
All right. Well, so the what started this whole topic is a viral TikTok video that I'm pretty sure a lot of you have seen of a marriage ceremony between a Black couple, and as the pastor is reading the vows, and he's telling the soon-to-be wife to repeat after me. It got to the portion where it's telling her to obey her husband.
Right. And she basically wouldn't say obey. Right.
She would not say obey. And we're going to talk about a little bit about that video and take some things out of that one. But that's what kind of brought on this whole feminist movement. So I guess my first question to you, go ahead.
Well, in doing my research, I came across an article that I guess was trying to correct some of the misconceptions about feminism. And so at the end of the article, they had, I'll put the link to the article, that way we cite our sources. But they had like a series of questions. And the first question, they said, do you believe that women and men deserve equal rights and equal opportunities? If not, why not specifically? That's kind of a loaded question to me because it depends on what it is. Right. I think with certain things that involve intellect at times, that might be something that, equality, equal pay or whatever. But there are other things that, I think other things come into play.
Okay.
We are made differently biologically. We are our makeup is different. And I think that just because women can do the job doesn't necessarily mean that they should do the job. Because then my question becomes, I mean, are you wanting to do this job just to prove that you are, capable of doing it? Or is this really your passion?
Okay.
So those are some of the things that I take into account. Um, that, I don't know, that question, it hit me weird. It hit my ear wrong, because it's like, on the surface, yeah, everybody wants to be treated equally, but I won't necessarily say equally, fairly, maybe the word that I'm wanting to say. We want to be treated fairly, we want to be treated nice, all of that. But some things, no, I don't think that men and women should. I guess the answer is no, I don't. I think that men should open doors for women.
Okay.
That's one of those things. I know it's probably something that's not as serious, or doesn't go as deep, but off the top of my dome, that's the one of the things I can think of at this time. But so no, let me read the question again. Do we deserve equal rights and equal opportunities? What do you think, Sean?
Okay. So when it comes to equal rights and equal opportunities, in my opinion, the answer to that question is yes. And here's why. Okay. Now, I'm going to take this away from what we understand spiritually, and I'm going to make a secular point, right?
Okay.
Because if we're talking about careers and career wise, yes, there should be some fairness in the decision makings on who gets what, who deserves what, and things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. A woman should be paid the same as a man that does the exact same job. Okay. Mm-hmm. They should be given merit raises and bonuses and things like that. The same way men do. And those things are not happening even in this 21st century world.
Right.
Those things are not happening. There are things, as far as making a decision on the body, that's kind of hard because women have to make decisions on their bodies that men never have to make.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Mm-hmm. So I necessarily, I don't necessarily want to mess with that too much because, you know what I'm saying? Decision that I have to make on my body is whether I'm going to wear a condom or not.
Right.
And then that decision can heavily impact, a woman. Okay. It can change her whole life and her body. Yes. Good. Mm-hmm. Right. You know what I'm saying? It may not revert to what it was. So if a woman wants to, make a decision on that, I feel like she should make a decision on that as secular things, career, none of this stuff about, women, women drivers, and all of that other kind of BS and things of that nature. So no, I don't subscribe to that. So my answer to my first question is I would have to agree in the purely, secular world, this physical world. My answer to that is yes.
Okay. Yeah. I guess on the surface, I can say yes. I guess I tend to look at things from a more spiritual and biblical perspective.
We're gonna get there.
Yeah, so that's what I lead with, is how God intended for things to be. So that's kind of what I lead with. I'm not a Bible none of that, but I just feel that things have to operate a certain way in order for them to work. That's me.
Right.
But yeah, but equal rights and equal opportunities, equal rights, I say yes. Equal opportunities. I don't, because then we get into this whole other, it's not as black and white as it used to be back in the day. Because are we talking about biological women and biological men? Are we talking about trans women, trans men? We have all of that to consider now. And so when I think about equal opportunities, I think about things like if a man wants to go and play in the WNBA, should that be allowed? If a woman wants to go and play in the NFL, should that be allowed? Should those opportunities be allowable, across the board, specifically from the woman wanting to play in the NFL? I don't agree. If a woman wants to get in the ring and box, say back in the day, Mike Tyson in his heyday wants to get in the ring and box Mike Tyson, should that opportunity be allowed? So when I think about things like that, I'm leaning towards no. I don't think that, I believe that, equal rights. Yes, we should all have equal rights as human beings. Yes, we should all be able to, live free lives and be safe and all of that. But when it gets to opportunities, that's where it goes a little hazy for me.
Okay. Let me jump in one time, because let me ask you one thing about this opportunity thing, okay? And you mentioned LGBTQ, right?
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. Let's take all of that. Let's take that aspect out, okay?
Okay.
That aspect out, and for the sake of this episode, we're talking about male and female.
Okay.
Let's talk about male and female. Okay. Mm-hmm. Should opportunities be given to them equally?
Even if we're talking about male and female, I guess my answer will still say the same. So the boxing, if a female wants to box Mike Tyson, I would have a problem with that.
Okay. But is sports the only thing that are opportunities? What about career? Okay. What about breaking into the boys club and things of that nature? How are we defining opportunities?
See, that's why it goes hazy for me. I don't know what we are using to define opportunity. I don't know what opportunities there are. And I guess I'm just a different kind of woman because, I grew up with predominantly men. So my ways of thinking are more masculine, driven than feminine driven. So, and for me, and then just my personality, I don't give a damn about breaking into the boys club. You know what I'm saying? That kind of stuff is just not important to me, and I've never been in any kind of a space where I felt like I was mistreated just because I was a woman. I've never experienced that. So I don't feel like I've ever missed out on the opportunity because I was a woman, and that why that might be is because I tend to gravitate toward traditional, female things,
right.
Like makeup and, fashion design and stuff like, I've never wanted to go and play football or wanted to be a part of the boys club or whatever. I've never wanted to do those things. So I've never felt that to the point where I'm like, okay, well, maybe these aren't, this isn't right, or I feel like I'm being discriminated against because I'm a woman. I've never experienced that.
Okay.
So that's that.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to move on to the next question. What were you going to
say? I'm sorry. So you talked about your life and you being raised by men, okay? Mm-hmm. Predominantly men. The men in your life treated you well. They treated you very well, mm-hmm. Okay? What about these women who have not been treated well by women that have not been treated well by men? Okay. And, what I'm saying, and how they have to, how that looks informing their opinion of men. And to me, I think when women are treated poorly by men, especially in those formative years, they start to gain some ideas where they feel like they want to be, where they want to be equal, because men is associated with strength and women can be associated with weakness. Well, nobody wants to be, associated with weakness. We want to be associated with strength.
Right.
So, how do you, real quickly, and we're going to get to the next question, but real quickly respond to that?
I would say the same thing that I would tell anybody. It starts with you. It starts with you healing that portion of yourself. I think that there's a lot of healing that needs to go on, before you formulate your opinion about certain things and situations. So if you have not had a very good rapport with men growing up or whatever, then it's time for you to heal that portion of you or that part of you, so you don't grow up creating all of these false ideals about men, or generalizing, men because of some negative experiences you've had with a few of them. I don't think that that's fair. And so for me, yeah, I was very blessed to have had a great relationship with the men and males in my life. But but it's been on the opposite side for me. I haven't had the best experiences with women. And so I could easily be like, all women are this and blah and blah, and I hate, blah, 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 blah. I don't fool. But instead of me doing that, I'm going to get the counseling and the therapy that I need, so I don't generalize all women, and I don't, I'm not standoffish. I am open to creating friendships and stuff with women. But I mean, that's where I think it starts. I mean, because if that's what it is for a percentage of these the feminists, I think that's where it starts. You need to figure out what's wrong with you, or you figure out, like, why am I feeling this way towards men, and get that part of yourself healed. And then from that point, decide, what lane you want to go down.
Okay. I like that. That whole question can be an episode in and of itself. So we're gonna move
all
on
of these questions could be a whole episode.
Yeah, go into that next one.
It says, do you oppose the idea that every human being on the planet deserves equal rights and equal access to all opportunities? If you oppose it, what are you concerned will happen if equality is achieved? And what are the downsides in your way of thinking?
Now, see that kind of follows with the first two questions, or I don't know, we are at 3 or 4, but
no, again, the first question had multiple parts. Yeah. But yeah,
gotcha. But I mean, that is murky, because again, we don't have a working practical definition of opportunity. Okay, because again, we talk about the sports and all of this other kind of stuff, and I'm inclined to agree. No, women should not play football with men.
Yeah.
Okay, that is too violent of a sport for men. I mean,
but according to them, we should be equal.
I mean, but
that's the reality of the situation, is we are not equal. That's just the reality. Physically, we are not equal. Yeah, there are, of course, some exceptions to the rule. There are some women that can probably lift as much as certain men. They can bench presses, or they can. Some women are, like I said, exceptions to the few that can run faster. Maybe whatever. But that's not the norm. And because it's not the norm, and that's just our biological makeup, is different. It is highly unlikely that I will be able to, in a hand-to-hand combat with a guy, that I will come out the victor. It's highly unlikely, and because of that, I respect that. The fact that men are more powerful, because we are not equal in strength. Give an example. I used to work at the for UPS back in the back, like loading trucks and stuff. And I think that really helped to shape my my beliefs about equality, because it was hard. Even I stayed in there for the 30 days, because I had something to prove. But literally loading those trucks is, I hate to say it, it's a man's job. Not to say that there aren't women who can't do it, or who can, struggle, suffer through it. But at certain times, with certain packages and stuff, I had to have a man come step in to help me to pick it up, because physically I was unable to, And so if we're talking about opportunities, yeah, I had the opportunity to come work and load those trucks, but I don't know that we should all have those opportunities, because yeah, if they weren't there to help me, that could have been a disaster for the company, or for that load, and so then you get into, so that's what I'm thinking about when you're saying opportunities. Yes, just because we might be able to do it doesn't necessarily mean that we should.
Okay, but let me give you this scenario, and then we're going to move on. Okay, let's use the UPS, that UPS scenario. Okay, let's say a woman can lift those boxes, and she is matching the work of men. Okay, or not just matching. Okay, but overworking, beating that average. Okay. But when raises come and promotions come, they're upgrading the male counterpart and not the female. Okay, because that's what we're seeing happening in society. Right. That's what we're seeing happening in society, and this is the reason why things like feminism in these groups, in my opinion, why they exist. I wish the feminist movement didn't exist, if I'm being honest with you. But but when you hear about stuff like that, and we know that stuff happens, okay, we've seen it every day, right? So what is the rebuttal for that? What is the comfort that you tell women that can match? We're not talking about no sports or nothing like that. We talking about on the job, doing the same responsibilities as a man, okay? Out working, not just men, but your women counterparts as well, okay? But when it comes time for a reward, to reap reward, you don't get it.
Okay. Now, I do agree with that. I do agree that if you're doing like you said earlier, the same work, then yeah, you should get the same pay. Absolutely. That's fair. I agree with fairness. Like on the surface, there are certain things that I do agree with. Like I do agree, like if we're doing the same work, absolutely, we should get the same pay. If as a woman, I think you should be judged based on your performance, not based on your sex, and be paid accordingly. Exactly. I agree with that kind of stuff. But then when we start getting to the meat and potatoes of certain situations, then, it goes a little gray for me, and I'm a woman, saying this. So, I mean, I do, I believe in, and then when it comes to marriage, and I think that's probably the biggest thing for me is the marriage portion. Like I said, I can't really speak to a lot of the other things because I haven't experienced them, so I can't really offer much of an opinion on being discriminated against based on me being a female, because I haven't experienced. And if I have, I didn't know, Right. So, but marriage is, I think, where a lot of it comes into play for me. Let me see the next.
Yeah. How many more questions that we got so we can get into the marriage and the spiritual aspects?
It's just, I'm just kind of trying to find the ones that are the most interesting, because some of them they just kind of see, they're pretty much just asking the same thing in a different way. Then it says, here it is. It says, think back. This is a good one. Think back on what has shaped all your beliefs about these issues. Where did they come from specifically? Childhood, early adulthood, your personal experiences with men and women, or what you read and watch in the media. Who in your tribe, family, or peers influences your beliefs today?
Okay. Well, good. That's a good question, because we can cover that, because, and I can speak for myself, right? Like, I grew up in a home, in traditional home, right? I had a mom, I had a dad, okay? And then, you know what I'm saying, I had brothers and sisters, okay? And the head of the household was undisputed, right? Okay? It was my dad, okay? And my mom, she submitted to my dad, you know, okay, very happily. She chose to make that decision, okay? And then me and my brothers and sisters, we submitted to both of them, okay? And you know what I'm saying? We didn't have no situation where kids was running the household, okay? It wasn't, you know what I'm saying, there wasn't none of that. You know what I'm saying? There was law, okay, in my household, and you know, consequences for not adhering to what you were expected to do, right? So when, you know what I'm saying, so what I believe, as far as, you know what I'm saying, what makes a marriage, you know what I'm saying, you know, our marriage relationship, work, and is applying those principles that you read about in Ephesians 5, when it talks about, you know what I'm saying, when it gets late in the chapter, talking about the relationship between a husband and wife. Okay. And, but what you don't, but when reading that chapter, we want to jump straight to, you know, for the man is the head of the household, and you know what I'm saying, for the man is the head of the house. But you have to start with the first chapter of Ephesians and work all the way through so you can get to that part, because you know, the first chapter in Ephesians is talking about, don't let, don't let anyone teach you any other doctrine except that, you know, what the apostles were teaching. Okay. And then in, you know, the second and third chapters, second chapter is talking about the fruit of the spirit. Okay. Love, peace, patience. Okay. Against those that are no law. Okay. Then you move into chapter 3, when it's talking about what do you do when someone is out of line. Okay. Encouraging them and trying to bring them back in the fold. And then when you get to chapter 4, it's talking about how you deal with interpersonal relationships. Okay. So after understanding that stuff, now you're getting into how do you behave in a marriage setting. Okay. So if we have two people, a man and a woman, who is applying all of the principles that you read in, you know what I'm saying, in Ephesians, okay, then there should be no issue with a man being the head of the household and a woman submitting, okay? Because the man is the head of the household, he's going to do certain things and he's going to make sure certain things are done, okay? He's going to provide as well as lead, okay? But he's also going to manifest the things that we learned in the previous chapters about treating people and then how to bring people back into the fold. Okay. So if you have that going on in your household and you're choosing not to obey, then there's something seriously wrong with you. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? If you did not marry someone with those characteristics, you need to check yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. Because
Mhm.
if you're saying you can't obey him because he's not showing those characteristics, I mean, that says a little about him, but that says a whole lot about you. You need to check yourself.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, Brother Sean. Okay. Go ahead, drop the mic.
I mean, I want to hear what you tried to say. You know, what you got to say. Come on with it.
About what shaped my beliefs.
Yeah.
I, my parents are divorced.
Mm-hmm.
And they're divorced. My mom's divorced once, my dad's divorced twice. And both my mom and my dad, my ex-stepmother, were very headstrong women, are headstrong women. And so I don't know that. So that was my example, of seeing a lot of strong women in my family. With my grandfather and my granny, my grandfather was the head of the household for sure. My dad's mom, my paternal grandfather passed away while my grandmother was still pregnant with my dad. So I never saw that dynamic. Neither did my dad. But from childhood, though, I've always seen very strong, opinionated women, and so I don't know if I just chose to be the opposite of that. I don't know. I guess I got the best of both worlds because I would see that,
Mm-hmm.
but then during my formative years, I was raised, I went and lived with my dad. So I was raised with a predominant male perspective, so I kind of landed somewhere in the middle where I say I don't classify myself as a feminist, but I do agree with some feminist beliefs, like we were saying, equal pay. As far as we were jumping into the marriage thing, my thing is, there's really nothing than what you said that I can disagree with. Other than what we had talked about before, about modern women wanting traditional marriages, and so that's where the feminist and the feminism stuff comes in and rubs me the wrong way, because a lot of the quote unquote modern women are, align themselves with a lot of these feminine or these feminist beliefs,
Right.
and they want everything equal. And in a marriage, I just don't think everything is going to be equal all the time. There will be times that things are equal. There will be times when they're unequal, but at the end of the day, the man of the house is supposed to be just that, the man of the house.
Right.
But if you're a modern woman, it's very difficult for you to do exactly what homegirl did and say obey, because everything is 50-50, it's equal. And so that I hear words like equal opportunities and equal rights and equal this and equal that, it's not equal in a marriage. It's just not.
Okay.
I do believe in gender roles. I do. Not saying that feminists don't necessarily believe in gender roles, but for me, that's just not equality there for me. He can do a lot of things that I can't do, and then if he is the leader and he is the head of the household, I just don't see how it can be equal, because only one person can be the leader. We
Mm-hmm.
both can't be leaders. And
Right.
so that's the issue that I have with this whole feminist idealization when it comes to marriage. I think that's my biggest gripe with the whole feminist movement is that the sanctity of marriage, you know, and that's what I that's what causes me a lot of pause, because I don't think that it has a place within a marriage, at least not by today's standards.
So if we're talking about the modern woman, right? Well, I would have to go back to the fruit of the spirit. And I forgot to bring my iPad up here so that we could go back and read. But it talked about patience and long suffering, okay? And okay, I mean, most modern women, and I know I'm being kind of overgeneralizing, don't, show those kind of characteristics. Okay, they almost become they want this quote unquote equality so bad that they challenge and almost try to embarrass their husbands. That's what I have a problem with. I'm not going for that at all.
Yeah. I think a lot of the modern women, what I'm seeing, and I was just actually, before we were getting ready to record this episode, just Love and Hip Hop Atlanta just happened to be on the TV. And I was listening to a little bit of that, and the whole, whatever episode it was, it's like the whole little portion that I was watching was there. Oh my God. Man, work literally kicked my butt today. But at any rate, but the whole clip that I was watching was just them beating down men, and it's just men weren't this and men ain't this and men ain't that, and they need to do this and they need to do that. It was a huge lack of accountability.
Is that kindness though?
No.
Is that patient?
Yeah, but it's also not accountability. It's like,
correct.
It's something that you're doing. You know what I'm saying? And that's what with this modern, and maybe my gripe isn't, and maybe having this discussion, I'm coming to realize is that maybe my gripe isn't necessarily with feminism per se. It's with the modern Black woman. Maybe that's what more of what my gripe is against. And I've just kind of crossed the two. But that's something that really, really, really grinds my gears. I can't deal with it. And then shows like that, I can't watch them. I can't tell you the last time I watched Love and Hip Hop Atlanta because of stuff like that. There's no accountability. And then you have shows on this, and you have our young Black girls watching this kind of mess and thinking that that's the way to be, Right. And so I don't know. It just really irritates me to no end to hear the griping and the degradation and emasculating of men. And even in one specific clip, and I want to get your opinion on it. There was a clip, and it had gone viral, where Scrappy and the girl Sierra were going at it. And right, and she's a modern woman, mind you. And so they were going at it, and she jumping and talking all fly and talking crazy to Scrappy. And then he returns fire. He starts talking to her crazy back. And so they were talking about that. That went real viral. And then later on in that episode that I was watching, she was checking another guy that was there, I guess that was present during this exchange, because he didn't step in. Now, see, that's the kind of thing that causes me issues, because I'm like, you can't have it both ways. You can't be equal and want to go head to head with a man and then turn around and be upset with another man for not coming to your defense. But it's that kind of crap that I see constantly that is a huge turnoff. So what are your thoughts on that?
Okay. Just a few takeaways. And I hope the video does not get disturbed. I do have do not disturb on, but I do have an exception list. And I did get a call that had to send a voicemail. So I just hope it doesn't get disturbed. But the first of all, let's kind of break this down, right? Sierra is this modern woman, right? Sierra has been married twice. Okay. Neither relationship has worked out. Okay. You know, so, she's modern, but she doesn't have, I'm saying she can't make, you know what I'm saying? And there was another relationship that was a dating relationship. None of those work.
There's no accountability.
No accountability. And I'm going to jump on accountability with women anyway, because I have a strong opinion about that. Right. But, and then you have, Scrappy, and we know about how he was raised by Mama D and all that other stuff. They don't respect anybody. You know what I'm saying? So you have this one, we got two people, this modern man, this modern woman. Okay. They clashing. It does not work. Okay. And she's being disrespectful. He's being disrespectful. It's a big mess. You know what I'm saying?
Equality, though, right?
I guess.
I mean, it was equality. You come there, you yelling and cussing and screaming at him. Yeah. And he turned around and he yelled and cussed and screamed at you. That's equality.
Okay.
You got what you put out.
You're right. It was equality. Both of them look stupid equally.
Oh, absolutely. I'm just saying, but she got what she wanted.
Right.
Or maybe she didn't, because now you're trying to check another dude because he was supposed to step in like you were the damsel in distress when you were the one that incited this exchange. Because first of all, it wasn't even your business, whatever they were talking about. It had nothing to do with you, And so I'm like but again, in that one example, you can't have it both ways. You can't be up there wanting to go, and for me, it goes deeper too, especially having grown up with predominantly boys or men. And so it's that same thing where the women, want to buck up and hit and push and punch and all that stuff. But damn it, if one of my cousins or my brother or somebody would have come and knocked and flattened her behind out, then all of a sudden, now I'm the damsel in distress.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But in reality, you should have kept your damn hands to yourself, because you can't have it both ways. You can't go hit him and then you want equality. So it's mutual combat. And then you get your ass handed to you because you are a woman. He is a man. And then now all of a sudden you want to press charges. See, equality means you take your ass whooping and you run on off into the sunset.
That's what it is.
And so that's my gripe with this whole equality thing, and so that's what my issue is with equality. It has to do with something, I guess, on that level, as opposed to wages and, and what women can do with their bodies and blah, 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 blah. My gripe with this modern woman thing is more of that. You can't have it both ways, sis. And so, but in that moment, Sierra wanted it both ways. She wanted to be able to get up and bump back and forth with Scrappy, but then when they are out of sight, then you wanted this guy to come step in so you could be the damsel in distress. That's the kind of crap I don't understand. I don't get it. And that's why she's single. And will continue to be single.
Continue to be single. But I have to say something about this women and accountability. Because that one really kind of irks me. Because, and I don't want to say this is all women or all Black women or all feminists, but a lot of times I don't see women correct other women when they're wrong, especially when they are openly wrong. I don't see a lot of that. Okay. You know what I'm saying? But then they want to give it to a man. I can't stand that. I need, you know what I'm saying? You have to keep that same energy. Okay. Yep. And I've tried to bring up this conversation with women several times, and they kind of dance around the issue. But you know what I'm saying? But this kind of prevailing thought is, you know what I'm saying, women do no wrong. Men are the ones that do all the wrong, and they need to be corrected, and they're trash, and women don't end up doing anything else. I have a big problem with that philosophy, but we're seeing that, especially in the Black community.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm a different breed, so you already know.
Yeah.
I probably give it to women more than I give it to men, because I've seen what goes on behind the scenes, having grown up around guys. I see what it does to them. So I see the other side of it. I know what women go through because I'm a woman. I'm a Black woman at that. So I know what we go through. But having grown up around guys, I see a lot of the stuff that other women, other Black women in particular, don't have the privilege of seeing. And so, so I have no problem correcting women. I do that all the time, sometimes to my detriment. So sometimes it's ended friendships, but I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not a yes friend. I'm not the person that's going to tell you yes and everything you do is great, because that's not what I want for myself. For one, I want people to correct me if I'm wrong. Hell, even with you, I'll even, I'm heavy on accountability. Because I've even texted you when I was mad at Brandon one time. Remember? And I texted you. I'm like, am I being petty? Am I wrong for doing this? Blah, blah, blah. Am I being blah, 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 blah? You're like, yeah, you being childish. Sit your ass down. Because I'm big on the accountability. But I do see that. I do see that with a lot of my friends. And I particularly see it in the friendships that have ended, because, I called them to task on what they were doing, and they don't want to hear it. So now we're no longer cool anymore. Gotcha. They're looking for somebody to basically co-sign their bad behavior, and I'm just not that person. So, I was trying to look at one more question. Better world. Do you believe that a world that prevents certain people from accessing full rights and opportunities would lead to a fair, healthy, prosperous world for all?
Well, again, right? We're talking about two different aspects, right? There's a spiritual and a secular, right? I mean, I can't state that enough. Okay. If we're talking about access, like I said, saying in opportunities and career and stuff like that, then again, the answer to that question, I mean, I don't know how many times you can say yes. You know what I'm saying? But there is one way to behave in the world, and then there's one way to behave when you get home. Okay. And a lot of times what happens is, and I'm going to pick on women a little bit, you can't act the same way in the business world that you do at home. You can't do it. Okay. You will destroy your family. You will emasculate your man. He's not going to want to be with you. You can't do that. You have to turn that off.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know we have had, for the sake of this discussion, we are excluding the LGBTQ community, but it's prevalent. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's very relevant for this discussion because as they get more and more rights, that then this particular, you know, this movement is going to kind of reach over into their community, you know, and then we're faced with things like, should trans women be able to compete in women's sports, things like that, you know. And so
Were they born a woman?
nope,
Then they should not compete in men's
that's how I
sport.
feel. But when we go, but you know, the more that we dive, the deeper in the
And
dive, and then this whole fight is
yeah,
they say that they're women, you
no,
know. And so
trans means across.
mhm,
Okay, you started at one point and you ended up at another point.
mhm,
So you know what I'm saying? You are not a man. I'm sorry.
mhm.
So you cannot participate in the NBA.
Yeah,
Okay,
or you're not a
in
woman, and
NFL.
you
Correct.
can't participate in uh female sports.
Right. No, you cannot be on the women's swim team and beat all the women and win gold medal. That's not fair.
It's not. I wholeheartedly agree. But that's what I'm thinking about. This stuff reaches over into that. So should trans women also have equal rights? Are they a part of this? Should they be allowed to be a part of the feminist movement?
Yeah. Yeah, if you were born a woman, you should have access to all rights to a woman.
And vice versa for men.
Correct.
That right there is a whole other episode that I really want to touch on. Um, because this particular topic can go down so many different rabbit holes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but the trans one is one that I really want to discuss. We probably should have discussed it on Hot Topics, but it had to do with Just Hilarious and replying saying that trans women will never be a woman. They don't have a cycle or something that they
Oh
were
yeah,
going back and forth.
about that.
Yeah, you know. And so, yeah, like I said, this is a whole other episode because if I go down this will be here for a whole nother hour. But um, should they be involved in feminism? Because they identify as women, nothing wrong with that. If that's what you feel or whatever, do you, boo? But should you be protected under the umbrella of feminism? Should you be allowed to um, be marching and all this other stuff and request the same things that biologically born women request in this whole feminist movement?
Well, if you want to do some walking, that's on you because men walk, you know what I'm saying, with women too on this feminine stuff. So if you want to do some walking and marching, that's fine. But you know what I'm saying? Again, I do not view that as a woman. You know what I'm saying? If you were not born, you know what I'm saying, a woman. That's just me. You can do all the walking and close all the rings you want to and hold all the picket signs. That's fine. Okay. If you want to help out that community, that's fine. But it may be a situation where you're helping a community that's going to reap some benefits that you will not be able to reap.
Just like black women.
Just exactly like Black women. Black women do not join the feminist movement.
Which is again another reason why it's not about us. And you saw
Yes.
where it said it originated in the 18th century in Europe. So it's never been about Black women's rights.
And
we didn't
never
have any rights in the 18th century. We didn't have no dang rights.
correct.
So how are we going to be a part of a movement where we weren't even considered a whole person?
Facts.
So maybe part of me is holding on to back in the 18th century, but I don't know, just the word feminist and feminism and all of that is just like, I don't like it. You know,
you can miss me with it all the
I
way.
don't like it. I just, it just sounds like an excuse to whine and, some things I don't think have to do, and I think it might be just the label of feminism, that might be kind of off-putting to me, because you having control over your own body, I think that's just a human being thing. I don't think it's necessarily specific to women or whatever, because it could be the same thing with men,
Right.
So, but I just think it's a human rights thing. I think all humans should have the right to equality, right?
Right.
But this whole feminist movement, it starts to take on a whole different energy to me that I don't like. But I think we can put a pin in it for today, because
let's put a pin in it.
Yeah, because I really want to continue this with the whole transgender aspect of things, because that right there is something I would love to have a transgender guest on the show, not to argue with or, none of that. I genuinely do want to understand, I really do. It might not change any of my beliefs or whatever, but I can at least have a respectful conversation with you, just so I can gain some more insight into what it is, But I guess with that, we're gonna go ahead and cut this, because we're about to run real long. It's so we can really just go there with this topic. But yeah, we will continue this next week. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So thank you guys for watching. Yeah, me and cousin Sean gonna continue this off of here. But we will see you guys